Welcome, I'm Ijoma Onyato. Tonight, National Economic Council sets up committee to find a lasting solution to clashes between herdsmen and farmers all over the country. Socio-cultural groups in southern Nigeria challenge state governors across the country to enact anti-open grazing law. The Vice President, Yemi Osinbajo, commends African Development Bank for supporting the development of the Northeast as he commissions the bank's new office complex in Abuja. And US President Donald Trump denies changing his views on building border wall on Mexico following claims he was uninformed before making promise.
On Business News tonight, Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries set to review strategies to tackle global oil oversupply ahead of its first meeting for 2018 in Oman.
On sports news, Arsenal manager Arsene Wenger confirms Alexis Sanchez and Eric Mkhitaryan's swap is likely to happen.
And from Abuja, a high court in the city upholds prescription of indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, orders group to pay fine to the Attorney General of the Federation.
We begin tonight from Abuja, where the recurring clashes between farmers and herdsmen in various parts of the country has caught the attention of the National Economic Council. The council has constituted a 10-man committee headed by Vice President Yemi Osinbajo with some governors as members. The committee is expected to come up with a solution to the crisis. Speaking to State House correspondents at the end of its first meeting of the year, Governor Abdullahi Ganduje of Kano State explains that the committee would collaborate with the federal government to address impunity regarding killings and violence. The council also agreed that the federal government should intervene in states experiencing the latest outbreak of Lassa fever.
On the farmers and herdsmen crisis, Council constituted a working group to collaborate with the federal government in addressing the issues of impunity regarding the killing and violence. The committee, composed of 9 governors under the chairmanship of the Vice President, will work in accordance with the President's commitment to ensuring that all perpetrators of violence are brought to book. The working group consists of governors of Zamfara, Kaduna, Adama, Benue, Taraba, Edo, Plateau, Ebonyi, and Oyo states. The committee has started its meeting right after today's National Economic Council.
It was agreed, that the federal government is going to intervene very quickly, in the case of Ebonyi State and Ogun State, where this epidemic, has developed.
Meanwhile, the joint southern social-cultural groups comprising Afenifere, Ohanaeze Ndibo, representatives of South-South people and those from the Middle Belt are challenging state governors to adopt the anti-open grazing law as the immediate solution to herdsmen attacks across the country. Leaders of the various groups, led by Chief Ayo Adebanjo and Mr. John Nwodo, made the call in Makurdi, the Benue State capital, where they all converged to commiserate with the governor of Benue State over the killing of 73 persons by suspected herdsmen on New Year Day.
Governor Samuel Ortom in warm handshake as he exchanges pleasantries with top leaders of the joint Southern and Middle Belt groups. Among the guests are popular musician Tuface Idibia and former governor of Anambra State, Chukwuemeka Ezefe, who sets the ball rolling.
I suggest that no murderer or relation of murderer should be allowed to come close to, not to talk about occupying the land of the victim.
The President General for Ohanaeze Ndibo begins by explaining the level of inequality and insecurity in the country with the call on Governor Samuel Ortom to stand firm.
Never before have we been as divided as we are today. How on earth can you have a federal government that runs a unitary system? It is a lie, standing with your head and your leg up.
Chief Ayo Adebanjo, while speaking for the Southwest, underscores the need for restructuring of the country, a point the leader of South-South also roots for.
They came in Agatu, they will come again, and your policemen and security will keep their eyes open, saying that, well, we follow our hands. That is the thing we are talking of when we say we want to restructure.
Your Excellency, if you had full control of the security agencies, the police, I'm sure you would have done even better. So for those who pretend that they don't know what restructuring means, let them look at what has happened in Benue State.
Speaking on the attacks in Benue, the leader of the Middle Belt Forum blamed the killing on an ethnic cleansing agenda, as Governor Ortom calls for in-depth investigation into their plights.
What we are facing, we have to learn to call it by its true name, with no political correctness involved. It is no other than ethnic cleansing.
So I'm more inclined that there is need. We must not pretend. The Bible says that you shall know the truth and the truth will set you free. We need to get to the roots of this. Otherwise, pretending and being sycophantic, it will not lead us to anywhere.
The unanimous decision from the visit is that state must commence adoption of the Benue State Open Grazing Prohibition Law and pursue the essence of restructuring if Nigeria must win the war against herdsmen onslaughts.
Now, some residents and farmers of Arodoye and Agrarian community near Akure, the Ondo State capital, are sending a Save Our Soul message to the state and federal government because of attacks on them and destruction of their farms by suspected herdsmen. And in Kwara State, another farmer is also blaming the destruction of his farm, which he estimates to be over 150 million naira, on suspected herdsmen.
The greenness of these trees shows this should be a healthy farmland located at Oboile community in Ekiti local government area of Kwara State. It is the lifetime investment of a retired naval officer, but now it can only exist in film and archives, as this farmland is now a ghost of itself, having been replaced by these leafless trees. Covering about 500 hectares of land, the farm had orange, palm trees and cassava cultivated on it. The owner of the farm, retired Vice Admiral Samuel Afolayan, is not happy about his loss, which he says is in the region of 150 million naira.
I planted 5,000 trees, stands of palm of orange that you see is already producing. More than 2,000 trees have been burnt. Despite that I do fire tracing, despite that I take all necessary precautions, they will still come in with their cows deep inside the farm, take as much orange as they want, and start feeding on my cassava.
The mission of destruction is not only in Kwara State. These farmers in Ondo State also have their farms stocked after people suspected to be herdsmen allegedly had their fill of the crops.
The herdsmen have been coming to attack us here for more than 4 years. They feed on the crops and destroy whatever is left. I warned my people not to confront them because we hear on radio and television how they kill whoever challenges them. Many farmers or residents have fled for fear of being attacked.
As we are now here, we are living in fear. We have nothing to eat here. Then think about cassava and cocoyam and the yam inside 14 plots of land. It's something I cannot estimate. Even as I am, I'm just bleeding inside. I'm crying inside because I have nothing left.
While this man could contain his emotion over his loss, one of the women could not.
They feed their cattle on our crops and burn whatever is left. They kill whoever challenges them. I'm calling on the government to help me because I feed on the farm produce.
The concern of the farmers is that the federal government seems to be only paying lip service about its effort to check the excesses of suspected herdsmen who appear to have resorted to destroying everything that crossed their path.
And barely 48 hours after both chambers of the National Assembly debated the killings in Benue State, some indigents of the state have staged a protest to the National Assembly demanding justice for the victims.
For some time now, the issue of alleged killings by herdsmen in Benue State have dominated the media as protesters occupy the streets in Makurdi, the Benue State capital. Here in Abuja, some indigents of the state have taken the protest to the National Assembly. At the entrance to the National Assembly, the protesters state their demands.
We've been here before several times and we have not got anything from the National Assembly. As law-abiding citizens and we know the due process, we'll come back to this National Assembly, the Senate and the House of Rep to represent our case and call for action.
Addressing the protesters on behalf of the federal lawmakers, the deputy minority leader of the House of Representatives gave the assurances of government to address the situation once and for all.
We have set up a panel. The panel is going to come back to us and tell us this is their findings. But going further from what you said, I don't think anybody in his right senses will sit down and allow this kind of thing happen. We've called on security agencies. We're going to do our best. Like you said, this is a test for us. It's a test case. But short of us going down there, without us going down there, there's nothing we can, because they have to come and do a fact-finding mission. I know that the Senate had already set up a team to go down. I think they've already gone, I'm not sure. They've already come, fine. And our own people are coming. But like you said, also, I'll repeat it again, it's not just by coming to check what will happen. We will do, you hear what we're going, our resolutions. Yes. And when we come up with our resolutions, I think the whole of Benue State will be proud of us.
Yes. The recent killings in Benue and some other states across Nigeria have attracted public criticisms and condemnation. And the consensus is that the government, states and federal must rise up to the occasion and protect lives and property.
Away from the Benue killings, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, says an approval of $1 billion budget support loan by the Africa Development Bank last year was instrumental to stabilizing the Naira and lifting Nigeria out of its 2015-2016 economic recession. He was speaking at the commissioning of the Africa Development Bank in Abuja. Our correspondent Gloria Humezoke reports.
A sound relationship between the federal government and the African Development Bank, where Nigeria is the major shareholder, have helped the growth of the AFDB, hence this edifice, the new country department complex of the AFDB. The Vice President lauded the bank's approval of a $1 billion loan, which was largely instrumental to ending Nigeria's recession in 2017.
When we requested support from the bank, the response was swift. The bank approved a budget support loan of $1 billion in November 2016. The first tranche of $600 million has been fully disbursed and utilized, and in my discussions with the president of the bank, we will be getting the remainder in form of sector loans. So we're looking forward to the remaining $400 million.
Nigeria's first president of the bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, enumerates major projects in Nigeria the bank has assisted in funding.
We put in $80 million into the Fund for Financing Agriculture in Nigeria. This year, we will also be investing $200 million in the Transmission Company of Nigeria to support the rehabilitation of existing transmission lines in partnership with the World Bank. We've invested $100 million in the mainstream power IPP in Jeba and Kainji to add 700 megawatts to the national grid.
Nigeria's finance minister, Mrs. Kemi Adeosun, is confident the new structure will help deepen ties and promote an all-inclusive growth.
Owing to AFDB's important role in poverty alleviation and development in Africa, Nigeria in particular needs the AFDB and its program of high fives, which encompass investing more in infrastructure, agriculture, education, healthcare, and increased access to affordable energy and water.
This is the first structure of the bank, established in 1964 outside its headquarters in Abidjan. The government hopes to go beyond this achievement to consolidate regional cooperation for the growth of all member countries.
In part two, after the break, Ekiti State Governor Ayodele Fayose mediates in clashes between herdsmen and farmers. That's in a moment. Please stay with us.